Nice work. We're almost done with a homepage. And don't worry, a lot of the functionality that we're setting up in a homepage is going to be used later on in a project anyway. So it's not like we're wasting our time. Now I would want to, of course, display those products. And technically you can say, all right, so I'm just going to go for my elements. I'm probably going to be looking for the featured, or more specifically, the section center or featured center, where I have all the products, correct? Where we were setting up the single product, and I'm good to go. However, keep in mind that we would want to do the same thing in the products page as well. So let me show you. This is going to be, of course, our products page. So wouldn't it be nicer if we would set up a function that takes an array of items, in our case featured, and then in the products page, of course, is going to be all the projects, and then iterates over those products and just display them. And of course, the answer is that it would be nicer if we would have the function, correct? So now what I would want is navigate back to home page. All right, awesome. I have my featured, and then notice how I have this display function from display products. And display products is going to be looking for two things. It's going to be looking for the items that we would want to display, and also where we would want to display them. So where is going to be the element that is going to have those items. So we're going to go with display. I invoke the function. I'll pass in my featured in this case. Keep in mind that, of course, in the products, we'll pass all the products. Then I'll use my get element function that I'm importing also from the utils. And now I would want to target that featured center. So essentially, instead of setting up everything in the index.js, I have a function that does that for me, because I'll invoke the same function in the products as well. So in here, I'll write featured and then center. So pass in these two things. And of course, we already know the drill. We just need to look for display products module. And in that module, I have two things. I have format price and I have add to cart. So these are my imports. And for the time being, we'll not deal with them. So we'll take our time, and first we'll just make sure that we're displaying everything properly. And in here, in the display products, I would want to console log first the things that I'm passing in. So I'll call this product, that's my parameter, and then element. And just make sure, and by the way, I didn't want to copy and paste this one, and just make sure that you actually have access to them, correct? Because otherwise, again, we can set up all kinds of logic, but if the product won't be there and the element won't be there, well, it's going to be kind of useless, correct? So we're going to go with element. Okay, awesome. And now I don't want the products page. I want the index page. And there it is. Now in the console, I should have two things. I should have the array and I should have the featured center. Now, again, let me reiterate the reason why we're setting up the function, because we'll have the same functionality in the products. However, of course, our values are going to change. Now we're looking for featured center, but in the products, of course, there's going to be a different div. And once we have this particular setup, now, of course, I would want to target my element. And I'm going to say a comment of display products over here. And we're going to go with element, then inner HTML right away. We could set up separate variable, but we might as well do it right away, where I'm going to iterate right now over my product array, correct? So I'm going to go with map. Then I have my callback function, product. I'm accessing each and every product that I have, and I'll right away destructure it from my product. So I'm going to go with const, and what properties I would want. Well, let's double check. So I would want probably a name, I would want image, I would want price, and I also would want to have the ID, because it's going to be used in two places. It's going to be used when we're adding to the cart, as well as when we're going for that single page. That's why it is important. So now we're going to go with ID, name, and then image, and then price. And what I'm looking for here is the product. So that's each and every product. And what I would want to return from my callback function, of course, is the string template. And this is where index.html comes into play. So now what you're looking for is this article. So if you want, of course, you can get the comment as well. But in my case, I'm just going to be looking for the article, copy and paste, and then this is what we're returning right now. Now, at the moment, I still have my comments and everything. So maybe, probably, it's better if we would uncomment that in the index.html. But for the time being, it's going to be good. So I won't add any data at the moment, but you can already see that I have 3 items. So I'm iterating over and I'm setting up in the element. Now I have these commas over here because remember, we're returning a array, correct? So we're setting this up as a string. So we might as well use the join and just make sure that we don't have anything in between. So again, we didn't add anything dynamic, but we should have these 3 items, correct? Because again, we get the element, and in the index.js, we were targeting featured center, and then we pass in whatever array we would want. So remember, we had 3 items, and now, of course, I'm iterating over that array, and this is what I'm returning. I'm returning my article. And then once I have this set up, of course, now I would want to pass in something dynamic. So what is happening over here? Well, where I have the product, that stays the same. But for the image, for example, I would want to get that specific image that is from the product, correct? And we already know how we can set up the variable. So I'm going to go with image. Then for the alternative, I'm going to say name. So that's going to be my product name. Then I have the icons. And remember, I had the ID. So now I'll make this one dynamic, where instead of 1, I'll pass in the ID that reflects the product that I'm getting. Product icon, that stays the same, but remember the button with data ID, again, same spiel. We go and we access the ID. Now we actually passing in the value. Then we have the product name over here. And then this is going to be equal to a name. And then we have the price. So price is going to be a bit more tedious. That's why for the time being, I'll just leave it the way it is. Okay. So price is going to be $9.99. And then next video, of course, I will deal with format price and why we're doing that and how it makes our lives easier. So for the time being, if we just navigate over there, and by the way, you might get these weird Chrome warnings where essentially I just find it easier not to show them. That's why I have custom levels and I'm not showing the warnings, because for some reason they're complaining the fact that you're getting the image from the source and it's not a error, it's just a warning. But what's really cool is that where we have the featured, check it out. Now, of course, I have all these items, correct? And now I have specific name, I have the specific image, and then if I navigate to a single product, I am getting the ID, which is awesome, which just means that, of course, we'll be able to set up a fetch request. And with that in place, now, of course, we can start dealing with prices and why we would want to format them in the first place.